All right, let's dive in. In the construction world, there's this huge, often invisible wall, right? It's between the project owners and the people actually building the thing. And this wall, it's not just a headache, it's incredibly expensive. So today we're going to look at how technology is finally starting to tear that wall down. So let's kick things off with a question. And hey, if you've ever had to manage a project budget, this one's definitely for you. You know all that time your team spends just copying and pasting, shuffling RFIs, submittals, you name it, from one piece of software to another? What do you think that actually costs? Okay, get ready for this. It's $60,000. And that's not the cost. That's the savings. We're talking average savings on a single $100 million project, just by cutting out the double data entry. Wild, right? And that doesn't even touch the cost of mistakes or delays. So where is all this money going? Well, it all boils down to this one big problem. Let's call it construction's great disconnect. This is really the root cause of all that wasted time and money. Think of it like this. You've got two teams living in two totally different worlds. On one side, you have the project owner. They're in their system, something like Trimble Unity Construct, and they're focused on the 30,000-foot view, the capital, the planning, the budgets. Then, on the other side, you've got the contractor. They're living in their system, maybe Procore or Project Site, and they are deep in the weeds, the day-to-day grind of getting stuff built. Both teams are absolutely essential, but they're operating in completely separate digital universes. So this separation, this digital wall between them, it creates these massive, expensive silos of information. Let's actually put a price tag on what that pain looks like. Okay, it comes down to this number, $30. That's the estimated cost to manually process just one project document. Like a request for information, an RFI. We're talking about 35 minutes of a project engineer's time. $30 just to move one piece of information from point A to point B. And that $30, oh, it adds up. And it adds up fast. On a typical project, you might see around 15 RFIs for every $1 million in value. And submittals? Whoa, we're talking anywhere from 500 to 5,000 of those per project. Every single one is another point of friction, another chance for an error, and another $30 hit to the budget. And here's the real kicker. It's not even just about the money. I mean, the money's a big deal. But every time someone has to manually move that data, it's an opportunity for something to get lost in translation. A delayed answer to an RFI can literally stop work on the job site. A mistake in a submittal can mean expensive rework down the line. The risk here is just as big a deal as the cost. Okay, so if the problem is this big disconnect, then obviously the solution has to be a connection, right? It's time to build that bridge. And that bridge is called the Trimble Unity Construct Project Management Integration. So what is it? Put simply, it's a cloud-based solution that automates everything. It takes all that critical info, the RFIs, the submittals, and just flows it back and forth between the owner system and the contractor system, seamlessly. No more manual data entry, period. And this is maybe the best part, especially for the folks actually doing the work. Nobody has to change how they do their job. The contractor, they stay in their system. The owner, they stay in theirs. This integration just works silently in the background, kind of like a universal translator, letting everyone stick with the tools they already know and love. So let's walk through it. Imagine an RFI. The contractor creates it in their system, hit send, boom. The integration instantly pushes it over to the owner's system. We're talking everything, comments, attachments, the whole deal. The owner can then look at it and respond right inside their own software. And the second they do, that official response zips right back to the contractor. Just like that. All those messy email chains and forgotten downloads, gone. Okay, that sounds great in theory. It makes sense. But what does this actually mean for the bottom line? Let's talk about the real-world business impact. And look, these are not just estimates. This is data from actual projects. On a $125 million program, the savings were over $116,000. Now, scale that up to a huge $1.5 billion program, and the savings rocketed up to $1.4 million. The math is pretty simple here. The bigger your projects, the more you save. But the return on investment, this is where things get kind of mind-blowing. For a company spending, say, a few $100 million a year on projects, the ROI is more than 800%. Let that sink in. For every single dollar you put in, you get more than $8 back. And for the really big players, the ones spending over $9 billion, the ROI is over 2,000%.
The investment doesn't just pay for itself, it generates massive returns.
But let's pull it back from the spreadsheets and back to the job site. What does this mean for a project manager on the ground? Well, for them, it means things just run smoother. They're getting answers to their questions faster. They're getting materials approved quicker. And they have data they can actually trust to see if the project is on time and on budget. It's a game changer. Okay, so the value is pretty clear. But how do you actually put this thing to work? Well, the good news is the process is really straightforward. Basically, the Trimble team works directly with you to get it all set up right. It's a clear, structured process. They start with discovery, get it configured for your needs, test everything out to make sure the workflows are solid, and then you go live. The key thing to know is that this isn't some do-it-yourself tool. It's a fully guided setup.
And the pricing is designed to be just as simple. It really just breaks down into 3 parts. First, there's an annual subscription, and that's based on the size of your capital program. Second, a one-time fee to cover that initial implementation we just talked about. And third, there's an optional plan for ongoing support if you want it.
So the whole idea behind the pricing is really simple. It scales with you. The cost is tied directly to the value you're going to get out of it, which is why it's based on your total capital project spend. It's designed to be a totally fair and logical investment. So let me just leave you with this one final thought. If you could just magically give all that wasted time back to your team, all those hours spent copying and pasting, what could they accomplish? What bigger, more important problems could they be solving? That, right there, is the true potential of a connected construction process. Thanks for watching.